In 2026, the eyes of the world will turn to three nations: the United States, Canada, Mexico, the biggest World Cup in history. 48 teams, 16 cities, billions of dollars, and a tournament sold to the world as a celebration of football. But one city stands out, not for its football, not for its fans, for what was built there, and what was destroyed to build it. This is the story of the 2026 World Cup site that buried its secrets, literally. Let's start with what we know. The 2026 World Cup will be the first to feature 48 teams, expanded from 32. FIFA awarded the joint bid in June 2018. The announcement was celebrated. Massive, historic, clean. Or so they said, because when you look closer at where these stadiums were built, the story changes completely. We're talking about the SoFi Stadium in Inglewood, California, one of the marquee venues, one of the most expensive stadiums ever built. Built on the site of the old Hollywood Park racetrack, demolished in 2013, groundbroken in 2016, opened in 2020. Sounds straightforward, a racetrack replaced by a football stadium. Progress, right? But here's what nobody talks about. Inglewood, a city with a long, painful history of being bulldozed for other people's visions. In the 1980s and 1990s, Inglewood was systematically disinvested. Redlining, neglect, the Forum, the Rams leaving, the city hollowed out. Then suddenly, in the 2010s, the land becomes valuable again, and the people who had lived through decades of neglect started disappearing. Between 2010 and 2020, Inglewood lost thousands of lower-income residents. Rents doubled, then tripled. The stadium development accelerated everything. But here's where it gets darker. The stadium wasn't just built near a community. It was built with the help of a city government that bypassed its own residents. Rams owner Stan Kroenke negotiated directly with Inglewood's mayor James Butts. No public vote, no community input. A private deal that reshaped a city. Documents obtained by the Los Angeles Times in 2019 revealed that Kroenke's team had been secretly lobbying Inglewood officials for years before any public announcement. And that's when everything fell apart, because once you start pulling the thread on SoFi Stadium, you find it's connected to something much bigger. The NFL, FIFA, real estate developers, local politicians, all with their hands in the same cookie jar, all profiting from the same zip code. Now let's talk about Mexico City, Estadio Azteca, the third World Cup venue it's ever hosted, a legendary ground, a sacred football site. But when you look closer at the Azteca, the rot beneath the surface starts to show. The Azteca sits in a city of over 21 million people, a city built on ancient lakebed, a city that literally sinks by up to 50 centimeters every single year. Structural engineers have flagged concerns about the Azteca's foundations for over a decade. Reports filed, warnings issued, and largely ignored. The 2017 earthquake, a 7.1 magnitude disaster, killed over 360 people in Mexico City. The Azteca itself was damaged, cracks appeared, repairs were done. But here's what nobody tells you. The repairs were never independently verified. FIFA approved the venue anyway. The show must go on. And then there's Vancouver, Canada's entry. BC Place, a stadium built for the 1986 World Expo, a legacy venue repurposed for football's biggest stage. But Vancouver has its own skeleton in the closet, a labor dispute that FIFA quietly swept under the rug during the 2015 Women's World Cup, held at the same venue. In 2015, female players were forced to play on artificial turf, while their male counterparts never would be. A lawsuit was filed. Players from 40 countries signed it. FIFA's response: they dismissed the case, called it a logistical issue. The players were told, take it or leave it. The tournament went ahead unchanged. Now that same venue hosts 2026, and FIFA has said nothing about what changed, or what was learned, or what was owed. Let's go back to Inglewood, because there's another layer here that almost no one is talking about, the environmental one. The Hollywood Park site, the land SoFi was built on, sat near one of the most polluted corridors in all of California, the I-405, the I-105, diesel trucks, decades of toxins. Environmental justice groups filed objections before construction began. They cited air quality data, health studies, the disproportionate impact on a majority Black and Latino community. Their objections were overruled. Construction proceeded. The stadium opened. The NFL celebrated, and the community breathed in the dust. And now, in 2026, fans from 48 nations will fly into Los Angeles. They'll be driven past Inglewood. They'll cheer in SoFi's gleaming bowl, and they will know nothing of this. This is the pattern. This has always been the pattern. Build the spectacle, silence the community, erase the history, and roll out the red carpet. Qatar, 2022 taught us this lesson. Hundreds of migrant workers died. FIFA collected billions, the world watched, and then moved on. 2026 is different, they say. It's democratic nations. It's existing stadiums. It's no blood on the hands. Clean. But when you look closer at those clean hands, you find the fingerprints of displacement, of silenced voices, of communities sacrificed for a spectacle. So what is the hidden truth here? It's this. The 2026 World Cup is not being built for the communities that surround these stadiums. It's being built for broadcasters, for sponsors, for football tourists, for FIFA's balance sheet. And the host cities? They get the traffic, the noise, the inflated rents, and a stadium that in 10 years, many of them won't know what to do with. The white elephant problem, post-Olympics Athens, post-World Cup Brazil, billions spent, stadiums rotting, communities left to foot the bill. But here's the twist. The people selling you this tournament know all of this. They've seen it happen before. They don't care. And why would they? By the time the problems surface, the contracts are signed, the money is pocketed, and FIFA has moved on to the next bid cycle. 30, 34. So why does this matter? Because football asks for our love, our time, our money, our identity, and in return, it owes us something. It owes us honesty. Because if we keep showing up, buying the jerseys, watching the streams, traveling to the stadiums, and never asking questions, we become part of the machine. The 2026 World Cup will be extraordinary. The football will be beautiful. The moments will be unforgettable. But underneath those lights, beneath that pitch, in the communities surrounding those stadiums, there are stories being buried alive. And FIFA will hand out its medals, and the world will cry and cheer, and the credits will roll, and somewhere in Inglewood, a family will be paying rent they can't afford. In a city that was promised the world and got the traffic instead. So here's the open question. As you watch the 2026 World Cup, as the anthems play and the goals fly in, ask yourself, who paid for this? Not FIFA, not the sponsors, not the broadcasters. Think about the communities, the workers, the residents, the people whose names will never appear in any program. Dark side football, the stories football doesn't want you to know.